Anna Kepner was raped and strangled, and now her 16-year-old stepbrother is being charged as an adult for her murder. In this episode of Criminal Motives, I'm going to give my thoughts and reactions to the Anna Kepner case. My name is Matthew Phifer. I'm a therapist who analyzes the behavior behind high-profile true crime cases. If that's the type of content that you're interested in, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. With that being said, let's watch this next video together, and I'll give you my thoughts and reactions after.
What began as a family vacation aboard a cruise ship is now at the center of a federal murder case. 16-year-old Timothy Hudson has been indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of first-degree murder and aggravated sexual abuse and the death of his stepsister, Anna Kepner. According to federal prosecutors, the two were traveling aboard a Carnival cruise ship in early November of 2025 when investigators say Hudson sexually assaulted and intentionally killed Kepner while the ship was in international waters heading to Miami. The Miami-Dade medical examiner later ruling the cause of death as mechanical asphyxiation. Hudson was initially charged as a juvenile, but in February, a federal judge ruled he will be prosecuted as an adult. In a statement, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida is saying in part, "Our hearts go out to the victim's family during this unimaginable loss." A federal grand jury has returned an indictment charging serious offenses that allegedly occurred aboard a vessel in international waters. If convicted, Hudson could face life in prison. Federal prosecutors say the FBI is continuing to investigate.
All right, so this is a very sad situation, and from what I understand, some of the details that they didn't go into in the video, the stepbrother has been creeping on Anna for a long period of time. From what I understand, Anna's now ex-boyfriend, they broke up before she passed away, so I'm calling him an ex, noticed that the stepbrother was staring at her in the background whenever they would FaceTime with one another. He was constantly doing weird, awkward behavior towards her, like he was lusting after her, those sorts of things. And so the warning signs were there. Not only were the warning signs there, but as adults, when I think about the parents bringing their families together with two 16-year-olds who are opposite sex and with hormones raging and those sorts of things, one of the biggest issues that I have with this case, and I wanted to talk about this back a few months ago when I very first heard about this case, but wanted to get a few details first, is why were they in the same room? That's something that really bothers me as a parent of both boys and girls. Young boys and young girls need to be separated, but especially in a situation like this where they are not biological brother and sister. People have to stop assuming that because they are stepbrother and sister that they're not going to cross lines. And, obviously this is a much more egregious line. But even in a quote, safety sense, we can't assume that two 16-year-olds who are stepbrother and sister aren't going to engage in sex and things like that in a situation like this. And not only that, let's forget even that part of it. Even the fact that a 16-year-old girl, 16-year-old boy need privacy from each other. But with all of that being said, the fact that there were signs there that other people, even people outside of the family, saw how creepy this boy was towards her is bothersome. The fact that there was something that also wasn't mentioned in the video is that there was an open custody case with the mother and the father. I guess they were going back and forth about custody, not only for Anna, but for the other children in this situation. And so when we talk about that, when we look at that, I wonder if some of these things were some of the concerns that the mother had. Now, I don't know the mother's exact situation, but from what I gather, it seems like she may have had a struggle with some addictions. That's just kind of what I speculate. I don't know that for a fact. No one has actually said that. So that's just kind of some things I kind of gathered in some other research and videos that I've seen. So I can understand why maybe Anna and her siblings haven't or weren't with the mother. But at the same time, just because the mother might be struggling with something or for whatever reason can't have custody doesn't mean that a mother or other people shouldn't have input on some of these type of things. And I have a really hard time believing that every single adult in Anna's life would be okay with Anna sharing a room with this boy, on vacation, on a cruise, in the Bahamas, overseas, those sorts of things. And so the other thing that I want to say about this situation is that it is so common for abuse to increase when step siblings and step parents are involved. Now, is that across the board? Of course not. And so I want to be very, very careful when I say this, that, I don't want to make it seem like, if someone gets remarried, that abuse is going to happen, that bad things are going to happen to your kids or happen to you. However, statistically speaking, when new adults and new family members are introduced into the home with children and with other people, statistically speaking, the averages of abuse goes up significantly. So I'm not surprised at some of the dynamics of this. I'm shocked, obviously, and I feel terrible for everyone involved, for both sides of the family. It's a horrible loss, and horrible for both families, because they could end up losing two children and two siblings and not just one, because now the boy is facing life in prison. From what I understand, from what I gather and research, he is not going to be facing the death penalty, but he could spend the rest of his life in prison, which is really sad at 16 years old. Now, I think that that's probably appropriate in this situation, given the fact that not only, we're talking about very egregious rape and murder. Not only was she raped and murdered, but he hid her underneath the bed, and I guess wrapped her up, and so there's a lot of behavior with this 16-year-old that is very, very concerning at a very young age. And so I think that him being tried as an adult might be appropriate in this type of situation. But what are your thoughts? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. With all that being said, thank you very much. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button so you're notified each and every time I upload a video. I upload reaction videos multiple times per day, and I'm going to be uploading like a longer, if you're used to my longer content, I'm going to be uploading one long podcast type of content every Friday, most likely. Starting this Friday, I'm trying to have a video edited by this Friday where I will, it's going to be a little bit more storytelling than it is going to be reaction. So if you're used to my longer content, be sure to check that out, and I will have that available this Friday. So with all that being said, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. You guys have a good one.